loved Alpha Lucian Gray with all my heart. From the moment I first saw him, I was drawn to him. However, I always knew the one Lucian loved was someone else. Her name was Summer White. I thought I'd be like one of those tragic side characters in romance stories, forever on the sidelines, watching the man I loved build a life with another woman. However, everything changed 3 years ago when Summer ran away on the night of the marking ceremony, saying she wasn't ready to be claimed. Lucian had to make a decision and announce he would find a new partner. So I stepped forward. Wearing a dress that didn't quite fit, my hands trembling, I stood in for Summer. That day Lucian and I formed a bond as mates. For the past 3 years, Lucian had treated me with warmth and kindness. He was gentle and thoughtful. He took care of me in every way. However, just over a month ago, Summer came back to our pack. On the night of our anniversary, she got drunk and called Lucian in tears, sobbing that she regretted everything. Lucian's hands were shaking so hard he almost dropped his phone, but he didn't hang up. He just stood there, torn. When his eyes met mine, full of confusion and pain, I took his hand, still trembling, and said softly, "Go to her." The moment he left, I filed the mate bond termination papers at City Hall, requesting to break the bond. After all, these years of stolen happiness were never really mine to keep. It was time for me to leave too. With Lucian and going abroad to pursue your medical research career? My best and only friend, Eve Young, stared at me in shock. Her voice rose, full of disbelief. Did Lucian agree? He's been so good to you these past 3 years. I thought he had fallen for you. I gave her a bitter smile, eyes drifting toward my cup of coffee. Who would have thought? The moment Summer came back, he chose her yet again. The truth was, I didn't even know if Lucian had agreed. When I handed him the mate bond termination papers, he was on a call. He barely looked at me, just signed it while still talking, and walked away before I could say a word. He had not brought it up since. Now all I had to do was wait 3 more days. Once the papers go through at City Hall, and I get the official termination certificate, the human equivalent of a divorce, I'd finally be free. I turned to Eve and smiled. It's fine. Just 3 more days and it'll be official. What'll be official? A deep voice interrupted our conversation. Lucian Gray, my mate and husband, had walked up without us noticing. Eve looked up, clearly confused. Lucian, Mia was saying You're here. I quickly cut in before she could finish. Reaching out, I gently patted Eve's hand and shook my head at her. It's raining. I came to take you home, Lucian said calmly. I gave him a small nod, said goodbye to Eve, and followed him to the car. Rain tapped softly against the windows. The air inside the car was heavy and silent. Ever since Summer White came back, things between Lucian and me had become strained and awkward in ways we both tried to ignore. He opened his mouth a few times, trying to say something, but ended up pressing his lips together each time. Finally, after a long stretch of silence, he spoke. "Oh right. Mia, what were those papers you had me sign last week?" I was caught off guard, and just as I was about to answer, his phone rang again. "Lucian," Summer's voice slurred through the speaker, soft and whiny. "I drank too much at the bar and fell. My foot hurts really badly, and I can't get a ride. Can you come get me?" Lucian's grip on the steering wheel tightened. His knuckles turned white, his jaw clenched. "Summer," he said sharply. "I've told you this more than once. I have a mate. Her name is Mia. Please stop calling me in the middle of the night. Ask one of your other friends." There was a brief silence on the other end. Then she muttered, "So what if you have a mate? That marking ceremony was meant for me. You planned it all for me." Her entitled tone pushed Lucian over the edge. He slammed the brakes. The tires screeched, and the car lurched. "Yeah, I did, but you ran away. And in the end, the one I chose was Mia." Lucian had always been composed and level-headed. That was the first time I'd seen him lose control like that. There was a long pause, and then Summer's voice came through shaking. "I'm sorry. If you hate me that much, I promise I'll never bother you again." With that, the call ended, but Lucian didn't relax. Instead, he looked even more torn than before, gripping the wheel as if it could anchor him. His eyes stayed on the road, but I could tell that his mind was somewhere else and with someone else. I wiped away a tear and bit my cheek, sighing. I knew what I had to do. Before he could turn to me with that guilty expression I'd seen so many times before, I beat him to it. It's okay, I said with a smile. If you've got something to do, go ahead. I can head home on my own. Lucien watched as I opened the door, stepped out into the pouring rain, and raised my umbrella. He said softly and remorsefully, I'll be home as soon as I finish up. I nodded at him with a calm smile and stood there, in the downpour, watching his car disappear down the street. I had loved Lucien Gray for 10 years, and never once did I expect to be anything more than a shadow in his life. Then 3 years ago, Summer had bailed on the marking ceremony, and Lucien stood before the whole pack, asking if anyone else was willing to be bonded to him as his mate. I stepped forward immediately. I had loved him quietly for so long, and for 3 years, he had been nothing but gentle, so much so that it all felt like a dream. Just when I began to think maybe he had feelings for me too, Summer returned. Watching him struggle, caught between rejecting her and still instinctively drawing close to her, I knew it was time for me to walk away. In the middle of the rain, I pulled out my phone and sent him a message. Those papers you asked about? It's in the glove compartment. Open it. You'll know exactly what it is. I set the phone down and wiped my tears away. It was time I returned the mate to its rightful owner, for Lucien's true heart and for my own dignity. When I finally got home, Lucien texted me back. I don't have to read it. Whatever you want me to sign, I'll sign it. I trust you wouldn't hurt me. So he wasn't even going to read it. I lowered my eyes and pulled out my phone, ready to delete every single post on Facebook that mentioned our relationship. However, just then I saw a new post from Summer. It was a photo of her lying on a couch, looking cozy. In the corner of the frame, you could see a man's wrist. I got drunk tonight. It feels so good to have someone take care of me. I knew that wrist and that watch. It was Lucien's, and I knew exactly what Summer was doing. That post was for me, letting me know that she was still irreplaceable in Lucien's heart, telling me I should take the hint and leave. I quietly set my phone down and began packing my bags. Lucien didn't come home until the next evening. I was tossing together a simple salad for dinner when I saw him walk in, carrying a cake. I froze. He frowned slightly when he noticed what I was making. You forgot what today is, he asked. Why are you eating something so plain? It's your birthday. I was stunned. I'm an Omega orphan with no inner wolf or roots. Before I mated with Lucien, I had never celebrated a birthday. However, ever since we became mates, he had never missed a year. No matter how busy he was, he always came home to celebrate with me. When I was afraid of thunderstorms, he'd hold me close and whisper to me. When I had to travel far, he insisted on dropping me off and picking me up himself. I thought that was love until a month ago, on our anniversary, when he skipped dinner with me to pick up Summer from the airport. That night I knew. In his heart, Summer mattered more. And me? I was just the one who happened to step in when Summer ran away from the marking ceremony. I wasn't the one he truly cared about, she was. Tears welled up in my eyes before I could stop them. I had once been foolish enough to believe Lucien loved me. After all, he'd been so gentle, caring, and affectionate. I thought maybe he was falling for me, too. Or maybe my love wasn't one-sided anymore. Now I knew he never let go of Summer. I stared at the beautiful birthday cake in his hands, and my chest ached. After I left, no one would ever remember my birthday again. I forced a polite smile and said, "Thank you. Mia, we're mates." "You don't have to be so polite," Lucien said with a smile, lighting the candles. "You're 1 year older now. Make a wish." I clasped my hands together and silently made a wish. I'm 24 now. This year, I hope that after I leave, Lucien and Summer will be happy together. I hope Summer can love Lucien as deeply as I did. Goodbye, Lucien. I hope I never see you again. The moment the candlelight extinguished, Lucien pulled me into his arms and tried to kiss me. I lowered my gaze, hiding my sadness, and gently pushed him away. Maybe he sensed my hesitation, because he immediately began explaining. "Mia, Summer's just an old friend. She's still adjusting to being back in the pack. I was just helping her get settled, that's all." I gave him a quiet acknowledgement, and walked into the bathroom. When I came out, freshly showered, I saw Lucien standing shirtless in front of the open wardrobe, brows furrowed. He turned to me confused. "Where are your clothes? Are you going somewhere?" I froze, heart pounding, then quickly shut the closet door. "It's the change of seasons. I was just sorting out old clothes." Lucien relaxed immediately. After all, I'd never lied to him before. Right, those were out of style anyway. He wrapped his arms around my waist from behind, inhaling the scent of my shampoo. "We'll buy you new ones. Use my card." Then he leaned in again, trying to kiss me. I wanted to say no, but when his lips met the side of my neck, all my strength disappeared. So I gave in. I told myself if I was leaving, let this be the last time. Let me end this on my terms, with no regrets. I kissed him back with everything I had, and Lucien responded with an intensity one hadn't seen in a long time. With every movement and every breath, we clung to each other like it was the first and last time. I left marks on his skin as small reminders, hoping maybe he'd remember me that way. When it was over, he let out a low groan of satisfaction, and gently carried me into the bathroom to clean up. We ended up going another round in the shower. There were so many moments I wanted to ask if he ever loved me, or if he was going to end our mate bond because Summer was back. However, the words caught in my throat every time. I was too afraid to hear him say no. So, instead, I chose to walk away quietly and with dignity. When we returned to the bedroom, my legs were too weak to walk, so Lucien massaged them. Tomorrow's the 10-year reunion at Leaking University. Summer is going too. I know you don't like her, so maybe you should sit this one out. I have to go because I'm still the alumni president, but I'll be back soon, I promise, he said. He knew how I felt about Summer, yet he was still going. That alone told me where his heart really was. I had plans too. Tomorrow would mark exactly 1 month since I filed to break our mate bond. I'd be picking up the finalized certificate, basically our divorce papers, from City Hall. After that, I could leave, officially. "Okay," I replied softly. "I'll be home in time for dinner. I'd like to have that roasted herb venison you make, the one with the wild greens," he said, eyes sparkling. However, my flight was at 7 p.m. There was no time to make him dinner. Still, I nodded. I could change my flight to 10 p.m. and let that meal be my last goodbye. At the alumni event that day, Lucien showed up in a custom-tailored suit, his hair perfectly styled. He looked handsome and charming. Watching him like that made my chest ache because he didn't dress up for me. He dressed up for her, Summer. Not long after Lucien left, I got a call from him. "Mia," he said, sounding casual. "I spilled some wine on my suit earlier. Could you bring a clean one to the hotel?" I didn't hesitate. I grabbed a fresh suit and rushed over. When I arrived outside the hotel ballroom, I was just about to knock when I heard the sound of laughter and conversation from inside. Then came the teasing voices of others in the room. "Lucien, come on. If you still like Summer and she's back now, why not just break off your mate bond with that Omega already?" "Exactly. She doesn't even have an inner wolf. You think she's with you for love? She's clearly after your money." "That's right. Back in school, everyone thought you and Summer were endgame. If she hadn't left back then, you two would probably have pups by now." Then Summer's voice rang out, sweet, polished, and oh so reasonable. "Don't say that. Lucien's mated to Mia right now. If anyone heard you, they'd think I was the homewrecker." "But Lucien," she said softly, lifting her gaze to him, "I really want to know. What do you actually feel?" Everyone went quiet, waiting for Lucien's answer. And outside the door, I stood frozen, my hand clenched around the suit bag, my palms damp with sweat. After a long pause, Lucien finally spoke. "I mated with Mia, and I will take responsibility for that. The past is the past. No matter what, I won't abandon her." I let out a small, bitter laugh. He wouldn't leave me, not out of love, but out of duty. However, I never wanted duty, I wanted love. Still, I didn't blame him. We both knew I was the one who asked to mate with him in the first place. A moment later, I heard the professor's voice from inside. "Remember those letters we wrote to our future selves back in college? Let's open them up and see how our dreams have held up." The group buzzed with excitement as the professor brought out a box, and everyone pulled a letter. Lucien's hands landed on one, and he opened it. His expression shifted the moment he saw the handwriting. It was mine. I've liked Lucien for years, the letter read. To get into his orbit, I studied hard and got accepted to Leeken University. He's a star athlete, strong, brilliant, and admired. While I have no special talents, but I worked hard and made it as captain of the cheer squad, just hoping he might notice me. For a long time I thought I could only watch him from afar. But then one day he asked me if I wanted to be his mate. I was so overwhelmed, I couldn't even speak. In that moment, I felt like the happiest girl in the world. I just wanted time to slow down, so I could stay with him forever. Lucien's expression turned unreadable. The others crowded around to read the letter, and then the teasing turned into soft awe. Wait, Mia had liked Lucien for so long. I always thought she jumped at bonding with him because of his alpha status or to claim the Luna title, but it seems she really loved him all along. I didn't stick around to hear more. I quietly left the suit at the front desk and walked away. Whatever the reason was that brought me to Lucien, none of it mattered anymore. Back home, I started preparing dinner. It would be our last meal together, so I took my time. When the final dish was set on the table, I placed the official mate bond termination certificate right on the desk in his study, where he'd be sure to see it. Lucien still wasn't home. I checked the time. If I waited any longer, I'd miss my flight. I called him again and again, but no one picked up. Just as I was about to hang up, an unknown number lit up on my screen. I hesitated and then answered. Mia, came Summer's voice, sharp and mocking. Lucien doesn't love you. Why don't you just leave already? I'm the one he truly loves. You don't even have an inner wolf. What kind of Omega are you to think you deserve him? Then she sent me a photo of Lucien cooking dinner. Tears welled up and slipped down my cheek, before I could stop them. In 3 years he had never once cooked for me. So that was what love looked like. I wiped my tears, hung up, grabbed my suitcase and walked out the door. I didn't look back, not at the apartment filled with happy memories that I had clung to for far too long. At the airport, just before boarding, I got a message from Lucien. Mia, work ran late. I'm sorry. I can't make it home for dinner. I'll bring home your favorite mango mousse cake, okay? I stared at the message for a moment and then typed back. There's no need. Be good to Summer. I wish you both happiness for the rest of your lives. With that, I shut off my phone and boarded the flight. Half an hour later, Lucien was still at dinner with Summer, unaware of my message until his phone rang. It was his assistant. Alpha Lucien, the voice said, tense. There's been a plane crash. One of the evening flights just went down. Lucien asked. And what does that have to do with me? The passenger manifest included Luna. Mia, she's dead. Lucien shot to his feet. What? That's impossible. Mia's at home. She couldn't have flown anywhere. There's a boarding photo of her. Also, we found your mate bond termination certificate at your house, the assistant explained while sending over the photo. When Lucien's assistant forwarded the photos to him, his eyes froze the moment they landed on the words, mate bond termination. His hands trembled as he tapped to open the image, and the second he saw that familiar face in the photo, it felt like he'd been struck by lightning. Then came the follow-up message from his assistant. Luna. Mia's flight was the one that crashed. Lucien staggered back a step before collapsing to the floor, the phone slipping from his grip. He could not believe that I, who was fine just that morning, was gone now? This can't be happening. No, this isn't real. Lucien roared, suddenly jumping to his feet and bolting outside. Lucien! Summer called after him, running out the door, but all she saw was the back of him getting into the car. Lucien! Come back here! She stomped her foot, her face twisted with frustration. Lucien drove like a madman, racing back to his house. He stormed into his study, and sure enough, the mate bond termination certificate were sitting there, quietly waiting. His fingers curled around the document tightly, eyes burning. Mia, how could you? How could you just leave me like this? He couldn't accept it, and without hesitation he ordered his people to start tracking my whereabouts. Meanwhile, back at Summer's place, Unease crept through her the longer Lucien stayed gone. She finally pulled out her phone and dialed his number. Lucien? Where are you? Why aren't you home yet? I've got something to take care of, came his reply, cold and distant. Summer's heart skipped. She tried probing. Is it because of Mia? Lucien paused, then spoke slowly. She was in the crash. What? Something happened to her. There was a faint, almost imperceptible excitement in Summer's voice. Don't worry about it. It has nothing to do with you. I've got a lot going on. Don't call me again. His words were like ice, and he hung up before she could say another word. Summer stared at her phone, her expression darkening as rage boiled beneath the surface. She'd waited so long for me to step aside, and she finally had her chance. However, why was everything slipping through her fingers now? A few days later, she called Lucien again. The moment he saw her name flash across the screen, his brows furrowed. I told you. I don't have time for this right now. Lucien. Summer's voice trembled, soft and tearful. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bother you, but the power's out at my place. I think there's a short circuit or something, it's so dark. I'm scared. Lucien closed his eyes for a moment. Despite everything, he still felt a twinge of guilt and pity. I'll be there soon. Stay inside. He hung up and headed straight to her house. The second he walked in, he was greeted by the sight of Summer in a revealing silk nightgown. She rushed over and clung to his arm. You're finally here. I was so scared, she purred sweetly as she leaned into him. Lucien's expression turned cold, and he pulled his arm free. You called me here for this? Summer moved closer, trying again to hook her arm through his. I'm scared, Lucien. I just want you to stay with me tonight. Please. Lucien stepped away from her, his face as cold as stone. Summer, I'm not in the mood for your games. If I'd known this was what you were really after, I wouldn't have come. Her face twisted with fury. What is that supposed to mean, Lucien? Don't tell me you've actually fallen for that bitch Mia. She's just a filthy, wolfless omega. She's nothing compared to me. Watch your mouth. Lucien snapped, exerting his alpha dominance. Summer flinched at the weight of his presence. Fear flashed in her eyes, but it was quickly drowned by jealousy and spite. What's so special about her, huh? You used to love me. What changed? Lucien stared at the woman in front of him, hysterical and desperate, and all he could see was my quiet warmth. He remembered coming home from exhausting days at work to a table full of home-cooked meals, a house that always smelled of something warm, clean, and familiar. I never raised my voice. Even when he lashed out at me from stress, I would simply listen, then offer him comfort with gentle hands and a soft voice. Pain stabbed through Lucien's chest. Only now, after I left, did he realize his true feelings for me. He didn't just care about me, he loved me. And Summer? She was nothing more than a ghost of his youthful obsession, something he should have let go of long ago. Enough, Lucien said sharply, shaking Summer's hands off him. There's nothing between us anymore. Stop holding on to something that's already gone. From now on, don't contact me again. With that, he turned and walked away. Lucien, don't you walk away from me. Summer screamed, lunging forward, but the force of his aura pinned her where she stood. All she could do was watch him leave, powerless to stop him. She crumpled to the floor, fists clenched, and her face twisted with fury. Mia, even in death, you're still ruining everything. I will never let you have Lucien. Never. Back in the car, Lucien closed his eyes, and all he could see was me. He gripped the steering wheel tightly, and his chest rose with determination. Mia, wait for me. I will find you. From that moment on, Lucien poured everything into searching for me. Everyone around him told him to stop, that I was already gone, but he wouldn't listen. She's not dead. She's still alive, he roared, eyes bloodshot with desperation. His men could only sigh quietly at how worn down their alpha had become. Alpha, one of them finally said, we've searched every inch of the crash zone. There was no sign of Luna Mia's body. You know how rare survival is in crashes like that. I don't want to hear it. Lucien slammed his fist on the table and stood. Dead or alive, I need to see her with my own eyes. Keep looking. Even if there's just a sliver of hope, we don't stop. Though they exchanged uneasy glances, the men nodded. Then, days later, someone came running in with news. Sir, we found a lead. Someone in a small southern town claims to have seen Lunamia. Lucien's eyes lit up instantly. It was as if life had returned to his soul. He packed his bags that very night, but just as he was about to board the flight, someone stepped in front of him. Lucien, where are you going? It was Summer. Tears streamed down her face as she looked up at him. Move. His voice was cold, and he didn't even slow down. Summer threw herself into his arms, crying, Lucien, please don't go. I've been searching for you. I was so scared of losing you. I was wrong, okay? I never should have left you back then. Please, just give me one more chance. Lucien's brows furrowed as he pushed her away with force. Summer, whatever we had, it's over. I'm going to find Mia. Don't follow me. However, Summer clung to his shirt like a madwoman. No, I'm not letting go. I won't let go. Then, she pulled out a silver knife and held it to her neck, her eyes wild. If you walk away now, I'll kill myself right in front of you. Lucien's face darkened. Without a word, he motioned to the guards behind him. They rushed forward and grabbed her, holding her back as she screamed. Take her away. Keep her locked up. I'll deal with her when I return. Lucien. Lucien. Without looking back, Lucien walked onto the plane. Mia, wait for me. At that moment, I was sitting on the balcony of my rented apartment, camera in hand, gently pressing the shutter as I captured the charm of the old street outside. The day I left Lucien, a sudden storm forced me to change my flight, and that unplanned change ended up saving my life because the plane I was supposed to be on went down. Sometimes I would still get chills just thinking about it, but more than anything, I felt relieved and grateful. Since then, I had slowly pieced myself back together. I picked up photography again, the thing I used to love so much. Now I wander the southern countryside with my camera, capturing its natural beauty. The mountains, the rivers, and the people here filled me with a calm I never knew I needed. Miss Mia, we've reviewed your photography portfolio. We're impressed. We'd love to hire you as a cover photographer for our magazine. Would you be interested? When the local publishing house called me, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Seriously? Thank you so much. I replied, overwhelmed with emotion. This job didn't just give me financial stability, it gave me back my confidence and sense of self. One day, I was assigned a special project to track migratory birds and photograph them in their natural habitat. Excited, I packed up and headed out. That was the day I met Cody Smith, a man who loved capturing photos as much as I did. In the vast wetlands, I crouched quietly with my camera, eyes trained on a white egret guiding its chicks. Just as I pressed the shutter, I heard another camera click beside me. I turned and met the gaze of a man about my age. He wore casual outdoor gear and carried a professional-grade camera. A bright smile spread across his face. Hey, you're shooting the birds too? He asked cheerfully. I smiled and nodded. Yeah. I didn't expect to run into so many fellow photographers out here. He held out his hand. I'm Cody Smith. With a charming grin, he added, this place is a photographer's paradise. I took time off just to come shoot the migration. We started chatting, swapping tips and stories about photography as we followed the birds. Then, like magic, a massive flock of migratory birds filled the sky, forming elegant lines against the blue expanse. There. Now's our chance. Shoot, Cody shouted, eyes gleaming. I quickly adjusted my lens and snapped shot after shot, capturing the breathtaking moment. Wow, he murmured as he peeked at my screen. That's amazing. You're seriously talented. I scratched my head a little shyly. I'm okay. I've been practicing for about a month now. He looked at me seriously for a moment and then said, Mia, your photos are full of life. You must really love the world around you. I blinked a little surprised, but then I smiled. Maybe going through hard times helped me learn how to appreciate the good in life. On the way back, I ended up chatting with Cody the whole time, and to my surprise, I found out we lived in the same neighborhood. No way, Cody said with a grin. I didn't expect us to be neighbors. Small world. I replied, smiling back. I heard there's a photography summit next week. Are you going? If you are, maybe we could go together? He added, extending the invitation. Sure, I agreed without hesitation. We talked the whole way, effortlessly. It was the kind of conversation that never ran out of fuel. Before I knew it, I was already at my doorstep. I reached into my bag for my keys but froze mid-motion because standing at the door was a figure I knew all too well, Lucien. He looked exhausted. His eyes were rimmed with fatigue and maybe grief. However, the moment his gaze met mine, his entire face lit up. Mia, he exclaimed, surging forward to pull me into a hug. I finally found you. My body went rigid, and I shoved him away with force. Alpha Lucien, please have some respect. Lucien stood there, stunned, eyes wide in disbelief. Mia, what are you saying? You walked away without even saying goodbye, and now you're questioning me. His expression dimmed with every word. And who was that guy you were just with? He demanded, his tone suddenly sharper. I met his gaze, unflinching. Mr. Lucien, we're not together anymore. I don't owe you any answers. I turned and unlocked the door, ready to go in, but Lucien grabbed my wrist. Mia, tell me why you left. His voice cracked raw. It was filled with an unspeakable desperation. I took a deep breath and looked at him quietly. Lucien, have you forgotten? The day I brought you your suit, I heard everything. I stood right there and listened as you said that Summer was the one you truly cared about. That staying with me was just a sense of duty, not love. Lucien's face went pale and his lips trembled. Those were just words, just for show. Mia, I swear I've always loved you. I've never done anything to betray you. No, you haven't. I shook my head with a bitter smile. But you hesitated. You wavered between us. Lucien, can you look me in the eye and say you never felt anything for her? His eyes turned red as he looked at me. I'm sorry, Mia, I was confused, okay? But now I know. I know. It's you. I love you. His voice rose in volume and emotion, bordering on frantic. I shook my head slowly, my voice calm but firm. Lucien, whatever you say now, it's too late. I don't need your love anymore. Something snapped in him, and his face twisted in pain. This is about that guy, isn't it? You're with him now, aren't you? No. I don't believe it. He suddenly gripped my shoulders tightly, as if trying to pull me back into his world by force. I winced from the pressure and shoved him off. Lucien, get a hold of yourself. Just then his phone rang. He answered, and I could hear the panic in the voice on the other end. Mr. Lucien, it's bad. Miss Summer tried to hurt herself again. She's in critical condition. You need to come now. Lucien froze and turned to look at me, torn between chaos and duty. However, after a brief moment, he clenched his jaw and said, stay with her. I'll be there right away. Then he turned back to me. Mia, wait for me. I will come back for you. With that, he spun around and rushed off, disappearing down the stairwell, while I stepped inside and shut the door behind me, leaving the chaos outside. I didn't wait for Lucien. The photography summit was held as scheduled the following week, and I went with Cody. Photographers from all over the world gathered at the event, showcasing their work and sharing their insights. I saw sunrises atop snow-capped mountains, stars stretching endlessly over desert skies, and mysterious glimpses of the deep-sea world. Every image was bursting with life and story. I was deeply moved. How is it? Is it worth the trip? Cody leaned in and asked softly. I nodded. It's incredible. I never realized the world held so many beautiful moments. Exactly. He smiled. That's the magic of photography. It allows us to capture beauty before it slips away. We exchanged a glance and smiled, our hearts full of passion for photography and a quiet yearning for the life it promised. After the summit, we headed back together. Today was amazing. I couldn't help but say aloud, yeah. Cody looked at me gently. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Mia, you have real talent, he added, his voice sincere. Your work, it's gentle yet resilient. It made me feel something real. I looked down, a little embarrassed. Thank you. That means a lot. I believe in you, he said, voice steady and eyes full of encouragement. You're only going to get better. I looked up, right into his eyes, and for a moment, I could see a future full of possibilities. Just then, I saw someone familiar standing outside my front door. It was Lucien. He looked exhausted, but his eyes were filled with longing and hope. The moment he saw me walking with Cody, his expression darkened instantly. However, he quickly forced himself to stay calm, feigning composure. "Mia, you're back," he said, trying to force a smile. "Did you have fun today?" I didn't answer. Instead, I looked at him and asked, "How's Summer? You told me she tried to take her own life. Was that true?" His face fell and he stuttered, "She's fine. She didn't actually try anything. When I got back, I found out it was all pretend. She drank fake wolfsbane to trick me into returning." As he spoke, he reached out to grab my hand. "But listen, it's over. I sent her away. She won't bother us again. Mia, I was wrong. Please forgive me." I looked at him, but there was no emotion left in my chest. "Lucien," I said quietly, "I'm done with you. I'm not going back." Lucien went pale, and his voice rose in disbelief. "Why? Mia, you loved me. I know you did. Why won't you just give me another chance?" I looked him in the eye, feeling only peace inside. "I did love you," I said. "But you wore it down bit by bit. Every time you hesitated and chose someone else, you chipped away at it. And now there's nothing left." He tried to speak again, but I didn't want to hear it anymore. As I turned to go inside, he suddenly grabbed my hand. "Mia, don't go." That was when Cody stepped forward and placed himself between us. "Mr. Lucien," he said firmly, "please respect her decision. Mia has made herself clear. She's not going back to you. If you push this any further, don't blame me for stepping in." Lucien looked at how close the two of us stood, and something in his eyes broke. He slowly let go of my hand and turned away, walking off like a man who had lost everything. After he left, Cody turned to me. "Are you okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, I'm fine." Then he took a breath, looking straight at me. "Mia," he said, "I've liked you for a long time. From the moment I saw your work, I was drawn to your talent and strength. I know you're a wolfless Omega, but that doesn't matter to me. What matters is you, your soul, your spirit, and your art." His words caught me off guard. My heart stirred for just a moment, but I shook my head. "Cody, thank you, but I'm not ready. I just got out of something that left me broken. Right now, I just want to travel the world and capture its beauty." He smiled gently, warmth radiating from his eyes. "I understand. I can wait or go with you. As long as you'll have me, I'll be right by your side." I looked at him, and something inside me softened. A few days later, the publishing house contacted me. They needed someone to shoot a series on the migrating elk. Without hesitation, I bought a train ticket and packed my bags. On the day of departure, I settled by the window with my luggage. As I looked up, I saw a familiar face sitting across from me. "Cody, you're here?" I blinked in surprise. The sunlight lit up his smile. "Of course I'm here. I promised to see the world with you, didn't I? You don't mind having me along, do you?" I smiled, truly and from the heart. "Of course not."